In his statement, he mentioned that he would not consider an environmental tax because it would impose clear costs on the economic viability of SIA. I mentioned this because, of course, the burden of the tax, as economists understand it, really falls on either the consumer or the producer, depending in large part on the intensity with which the demand or supply responds to price, what economists call an elasticity. So it's entirely possible that it does not impose an immediate concern on the viability, the economic viability, if SIA is able to pass on the costs. Now, the second question is, I wonder whether it is possible to consider mechanisms where the environmental needs of both the country and the world need not be a casualty to business considerations. And by which I mean we can think of innovative ways. For example, if you have a flight to nowhere, of course, as you mentioned, a moot point, it could well be the case that this tax could be funded by savings on berthing rights, and hence, ultimately, the cost of a ticket need not actually rise. So I'm wondering if I could get clarifications on those. Thank you.
All these considerations can be done if there had been no COVID, and there has been some discussion in ICAO, in the EU, in the international community. But I think the basic answer, the simple answer is this: we're in a crisis. SIA, as I mentioned, is faring 1.5% of its passenger volume. So it's not about passing the cost to passengers. Is that there's no passengers to pass to now. And SIA is doing whatever it can to preserve cash. Because if you understand how a company is run, when a company runs out of cash, it's insolvent, it goes under. And SIA would have gone under if not of the massive recapitalization exercise that happened. And therefore, we need to help SIA preserve as much cash as it can. And it itself is trying to generate as much revenue as it can. So this is really not the time now to talk about an environmental tax on SIA. If I were to do that, I think there's a Chinese saying, 落井下石. I would have make the situation much worse for SIA. It means someone fell into the well and you throw a stone to make the situation worse. So let's be very careful about that. When things resumed, the international conversation will go on whether there should be an environmental tax.